Trail cameras are great for capturing local wildlife. However, every so often they can capture things that people struggle to explain. Trail cameras work by detecting motion, and once it does, it quickly snaps a photograph. The owner of the camera will normally receive a notification once this happens. One trail camera took a photograph of what appears to be a mysterious creature. The user who uploaded the image said that it was taken in 2020 and detailed that they couldn't explain what the creature was. They uploaded it to social media groups that investigate mysterious creatures, but said that most of the people on there couldn't agree on what it depicted. They said the following: "This photograph was captured by one of the trail cameras that we have on the property. Our property is situated on 60 acres and consists mostly of woodland. All around the property is woodland, and even past our boundary is nothing but woods. We've placed various cameras around our property due to how large our plot is, and this is just so that we can see what's coming in and out of the area. Most of the time, the camera picks up on everyday wildlife and doesn't capture anything strange that needs to be investigated further. However, in 2020, one of the trail cameras towards the back of the property captured something big staring into the camera. When we went out to investigate the next day, it turned out that the camera had been torn from the tree and was in pieces on the ground. Not only does the photograph speak for itself, but it's the context that may help to paint a picture of what this thing may be. Due to having wildlife in the area, on a few occasions some of the cameras have been damaged, and for this reason around 2 years ago we started to place the camera higher up on the tree, and this was to purely avoid anything accidentally damaging them. This was no problem, as our trail camera has a great range on it. When putting the camera up, I used a chair as I wanted to make sure they were high enough. So if I had to guess, I would say this trail camera was placed at a height of around 7 feet. This eliminates the majority of wildlife, except for things like birds, but I don't know any birds that have a humanoid face. The other thing that stuck out to me when looking at the image is I can quite clearly see a noise. So it seems like whatever this thing was stuck its head close up to the camera and then tore it from the tree. I've never really been someone that's interested in mysteries, and honestly, I've never encountered anything strange on their property. I've heard a few strange noises that I haven't been able to identify, but I put that down to being local wildlife, as some species can make some loud noises during the night. Other people who commented on my photograph did say that it could have been one of the many humanoids that's been reported throughout the area. I wasn't aware that so many sightings were reported from the United States, but as I did some of my own research, I found that these creatures are occasionally spotted throughout this region. I'm really not sure what to think, and my biggest worry is for the animals that I have on my property, and it makes me think that this might have been why it was here in the first place. The reason I uploaded the image was because I wanted to learn more about this and to see if anyone else had encountered anything similar to this." End quote. Many people have opinions on photographs like this, saying that they are some of the best evidence we have when it comes to these mysterious creatures. One person said that many of these photographs match typical descriptions of a Bigfoot-like creature, stating that it has a large brow ridge and always seems to have ape-like eyes. Contrary to what most people believe, these large hairy humanoids don't have much hair on their face. Others argued that it looked more human, with one person saying that it could have been someone who just happened to look into the trail camera, but many who have seen the image have said that it doesn't look like a human's face. As many said though, until further evidence can be presented, it's hard to come to a conclusive answer for what this creature is. These large humanoids seem to stand somewhere between 8 to 10 feet tall. Some witness accounts have claimed that the creature stood at nearly 15 feet tall, and this has caused researchers to say that height amongst the species could be a factor. It's for this reason that these creatures are expected to have an aging development similar to humans, most likely being birthed in the same way and growing up into larger sizes throughout their life. The creature is believed to have a total arm length of 120% the height of its body, similar to that of ape-like creatures with elongated forearms. Unlike an ape, the creature is believed to walk on 2 legs. This nature of the creature most likely points to the theory of a working voice box, as the head would need to be in a position that allows for an upright walking movement. Further evidence shows that the creature has a massive big toe to help with balancing issues, which come in at nearly 3 times in volume in comparison to its size when adjusted for human scale. It's also seemingly covered in hair all over its body. Nearly everyone around the world has heard of these humanoids, or a creature similar in design and behavior to it. This leads to a tremendous amount of reports, witness sightings, video evidence, physical evidence, footprints, and theories into the creature that cannot be entirely explored within this video. Back in 1925, a private photographer of whom was a proud and widely respected member of the Royal Geographical Society, named N.A. Tombazi, wrote an incredible report that first popularized the creature and eventually led to his own reputation, later being completely destroyed. It was common for Tombazi to find himself in strange, isolated places around the world, as he would often spend countless days alone in an effort to catalogue geographical strata or find new gorges or valleys in the hopes of making revolutionary geographical scientific discoveries. As he found himself exploring the areas deep within the Zemu Glacier, Tombazi claimed to have spotted a rather strange creature standing no more than 200 to 300 yards away from him. The creature, as he described, appeared to be that of a humanoid creature. He wrote the following in his report. Unquestionably, the figure was exactly like a human being, walking upright and stopping occasionally to pull at some short bushes. It showed up dark against the snow, and as far as I could make out, wore no clothes of any kind. End quote. The sighting of the creature continued for a minute before it ran off and disappeared completely from his sight. Baffled by this sighting, he quickly gathered as much data and information as he could. He noted that he was at approximately 15,000 feet above sea level and gathered information about the bushes, plant life, and environment of the region of the sighting. Shortly after gathering this information, Tombazi left the area to locate his companions. When he returned roughly about 2 hours later, Tombazi and his companions scoured the mountain and found evidence of footprints, in which he described as being similar to that of a man in shape, but noted that the feet appeared to be 7 inches long and 4 inches wide, but were undoubtedly of that of an upright walking creature. It was his written report and gathered evidence that helped to lay the foundation for what would later be considered the Yeti creature, and would lead the first few expeditions into uncovering the truth. It was not until the early 1950s that nationwide headlines began running the story of the mysterious and elusive creature that many would later go on to compare to the unending amount of sightings made all throughout the United States. Back in 1951, a group of hikers were already making headlines for their attempt to scale Mount Everest, and the endless amount of training they had taken to see the journey to the end of their life-threatening trip. The group came well prepared with the equipment and mental fortitude necessary for their expedition to be seen as a success, but, most importantly, in order to prove the validity of their climb, they brought along a state-of-the-art camera to take high-quality photographs once they had reached the mountain's peak. In direct conflict to their major achievement, the headlines that ran all across the country after the group had finished their ascent was not of that of their incredible trek to the top of the world's tallest mountain, but rather of that of their incredibly high-quality images that they had snapped of what appears to be anatomically correct footprints of a strange humanoid-like creature living at an incredibly high altitude in the region. The footprints were originally found by Michael Ward and were later pointed out to fellow members of the hiking group. Eric Shipton quickly took a high-quality photograph of the prints while placing down his ice pick next to it to help show the length and width of the incredible find. Many skeptics had argued the authenticity of the footprint, but research analysts have found anatomically correct details so perfect that it would have been impossible to fake. The footprints showed that the big toe of the creature appeared to be at the perfect size and volume one would see in a creature of a massive size needed for adequate balance, and the depth of certain areas of the footprint showed a correct distribution of weight that the hikers would never have been able to accurately reproduce. Today, the photograph is seen as one of the most compelling pieces of evidence of the Yeti creature and even helps to shed light into its weight, size, and evolution. At the height of the Yeti craze and the fascination the public had on the strange and elusive creature, the Daily Mail worked to gather their own evidence and make cutting-edge reports on finding the creature themselves. After only 3 years since the photographs were taken by Eric Shipton, the Daily Mail sent out an expedition team on the 19th of March in 1954 to go out to the same area the hikers had discovered the compelling evidence of the creature and begin their research into uncovering the truth of the creation. The research team found strange evidence of the native local population having symbolic paintings of the Yeti, as well as myths as to what it could be, with many of the locals even claiming to have seen the creature on their hikes. When the mountaineering leader John Angelo Jackson made the trek up the mountain, He photographed overwhelming evidence of different unidentifiable tracks of flattened footprints from what appeared to be a humanoid creatures. The human-Z hybrid theory. One of the first major theories surrounding the origin of the creature seems to center around a number of research efforts made by the United States and the Soviet Union back during the Cold War in the attempt to create a human-Z hybrid for the purpose of military applications. Back in 1910, research scientist Ilya Ivanovich Ivanov believed that he could create a superior species of humanity that utilized the physical strength, constitution, and ability of the ape, but added with the intelligence of a modern-day human being. This was to be accomplished by finding some way to merge the two species. The research scientist first began his studies in the Soviet Union, but found that the genetic differences between humans and primates was too great to ever yield a potential pregnancy from a female human being, or vice versa. Shortly after, the project ended as a failure. However, in the modern day, gene editing and other practices make it more than possible to splice DNA to create a human-Z hybrid, and given the United States' past actions concerning X projects, it's believed that the United States military may have continued the research for possible weaponization. This could be the origin of the creature, and explain the large number of sightings throughout North America, and now South America, that only tend to grow in numbers. The Gigantopithecus theory. The second major theory surrounding the origin of the creature centers around the discovery of a number of fossils that point towards the existence of an ancient humanoid-like creature, which has since become known as the Gigantopithecus. The first fossils of the Gigantopithecus were found back in 2014 in the country of Indonesia. The Gigantopithecus is described as being roughly 9.8 feet tall and ape-like in nature, matching physical height descriptions of modern-day sightings. Unfortunately, not a lot of information is known surrounding the Gigantopithecus, as the recovered fossils have only been bone fragments of jawbones, a mandible, and fossil teeth. The majority of surrounding information on the physical properties of the species is due to its close evolutionary relative, the orangutan. Many believed that the locomotion of the Gigantopithecus would have been made similar to that of modern humans, walking on both its hands and feet to maintain the least amount of stress on joints and limbs. However, further evidence from the mandible points to evidence of upright walking. This evidence is found in the shape of the mandibles, all of which were U-shaped that would widen to the rear, leading many researchers to believe that this pointed evidence that the species had room for the windpipe to rest within the jaw, of which would allow the skull of the species to sit evenly on a fully erected spine, similar to bipedal modern humans. This distinction is also noted in modern great apes, of whom have skulls that rest in front of the spine, forcing them to move on both their legs and hands. This could very well mean that a surviving species of the Gigantopithecus exists in the modern day. This theory also helps to explain its need for seclusion away from human habitation, as its relationship with modern-day humans have been quite disastrous and has led, either directly or indirectly, to the endangerment of the surviving members of its species. Evidence for this is found in its sudden extinction that took place around 100,000 years ago, when the species would have dwindled in numbers so low that it is expected they went extinct shortly after. This timeline coincides directly with the rise of the Homo erectus and their dispersion across the areas that the Gigantopithecus would have resided, pointing towards evidence that the species lived alongside each other around the same time the mass extinction of the Gigantopithecus occurred. The large cranium size and close evolutionary cousin to the Gigantopithecus, the orangutan, also points to incredible levels of intelligence that might be close to that of the modern human intelligence levels, supporting further Bigfoot comparisons of the creature being incredibly intelligent. Many researchers hold a reservation surrounding the species, claiming that the Gigantopithecus could not be responsible for the sightings, as the fossils of the species have only been found throughout specific areas of Asia. Conflicting with this assumption, further research hypothesizes that the species could have ventured and settled in many different regions outside of Asia. This hypothesis comes from the belief that the Gigantopithecus ventured similar to that of Homo erectus and could have crossed the frozen ice bridge from East Russian and Western Alaska into the Americas, similar to the progression of Homo sapiens. This would match with the modern-day sightings of the Sasquatch creature, of which believe the species to be all around the world and residing within regions that follow this standard migratory pattern. So, What do you make of this strange photograph that was captured on a trail camera? And what do you make of the countless sightings that are made across North America? Do you think that these creatures are genuine, or are they being misidentified as everyday animals, such as bears? Be sure to leave your questions and answers in the comments section below and help us to grow this community while working to solve these unexplained mysteries. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos.